Now, NDE Radio, a weekly exploration of near-death experiences and similar encounters with the other side. Now, here's your host, Lee Witting.
Welcome to NDE Radio with Lee Witting, whether you're listening on TalkZone, by podcast, through the archives of our ad-free shows on our YouTube channel, or by connecting through our Facebook page. Listeners to the show are by now familiar with the notion of after-death communication. Messages from deceased friends and family members to let their loved ones know that our lives do go on. But imagine if you were to lose your mother to death, only to discover that she was not only still with you, but was willing to describe the cooperative structure of our spiritual nature and the active connection we have to our other side's tower of the soul. Our guest today, Rae Key, is the author of a series of books titled The Team, A Mother's Wisdom from the Other Side. The material for these books flooded Frances' consciousness beginning 19 days after her mother, Gloria Crystal Teddy's, death in October 2010. And the massive flow of communication was remarkable, resulting in Book One's release just 3 months later. The book circulated quickly and in June 2012 was featured on the website of James von Praagh. More books about the team soon followed. They came as a direct expression of Frances' mother, Teddy, and her team from the other side. They emphasize the concept that we are all members of spiritual teams who have come to Earth for the fulfillment of specific missions. The books describe aspects of the afterlife and essential insights for personal and collective spiritual evolution. Their primary message is, you are not alone, you are not even functioning as one being, nobody is. For you are a member of a team, a spiritual team, as close to you as breathing. Frances considered her mother to be her spiritual teacher all throughout her life, and while she had hoped to contact after death, she was stunned at the intensity and clarity of the communication they shared. For example, her first idle question was, what is distance like on the other side? She got an illuminating description about distance as intention. Frances feels she traveled with her mother part of the way to the other side to receive the impressions that she did. Understandably, her perception of physical life has never been the same since. Frances, welcome to NDE Radio.
Hello, I'm so glad to be here.
Perhaps you could begin by telling us about your mom, Teddy, and how she came to contact you after her death.
Okay, well, as you described, my mother was always my spiritual teacher. In a very young age, she recognized in me an authentic spiritual yearning, and she took me to explore different religions. She encouraged my natural writing ability and my love of classical music. And when spiritual experiences began at a very young age for me, and she was there to explain them and to help me. At age 10, I was doing automatic writing. After that, I became a little bit leery of it all and sort of distanced myself. But my mother really walked by my side throughout all these experiences I had. So when I cared for her during her death, she died at age 86 of cancer. And for 20 months, the family and I, we took care of her. She died at home. I was so focused on her condition that I didn't give it a great deal of thought. But in my heart, I always felt that we would remain connected because I certainly had this mindset that we're much more than the physical body. But I never could have imagined 19 days after she died, I was on an airplane to go to New York to see my 2 daughters that lived there. And I looked out the window and just posed a question in my mind, really, sort of through tears, looking out the beautiful clouds and just asking, Mom, what is distance like for you? And truly, I heard her voice, clear and unmistakably hers. She was from Australia and had this beautiful accent. And I guess you could compare hearing her voice to sort of like when you have a song in your head, and you can hear all the orchestration, you can hear the backup singers, you can hear all the every intricacy of the song in your head. Where is that in your head? Where is that? I could hear her voice as if she were talking to me, next to me. And for a while on this hour-and-a-half plane ride, it was just this constant flow of conversation, and I really felt like it was going to be a personal experience. I even talked to her some about my life, about my regrets, apologies I felt that needed to be made, many things of that nature. It didn't occur to me that when I got off the plane this was going to continue in great intensity for close to a year. Now, the first flood was about 3 weeks of this awareness of her voice. And then after that, it became more of a not as common event, but more of an instant downloading, as if somebody could put the plot and characters of an entire movie into your head in 1 second, and you knew the beginning, the middle, and the end. I would have these experiences of intense information that just would be inserted into my mind, resulting in very lengthy and quite complex books.
You had mentioned, I think, about the sense that you had partly traveled with her, a shared experience of the other side when she died.
After this happened, I began to look for other people and things online that may have experienced this, and it was very hard to find except by hearing NDEs. The feeling at the moment of my mother's death, I didn't know what it was at the time, but looking back, I realized that I felt like something exchanged. I felt like a part of her, almost like her spiritual DNA, stayed with me, and that a part of my spiritual DNA, for lack of better words, went with her. And right after her death, I was very exhausted and rather numb and sad, as people are after such things. But I noticed right away, I truly felt so incredibly different in my own skin, in a sense. I really didn't feel like myself anymore. And then when this began, 19 days later, instead of having this grief and exhaustion and so forth, what I had was unbelievable energy, no need to eat or sleep, hardly at all. All the pain in my neck and back and things that had bothered me throughout my life vanished. I was extremely healthy, very healed, very useful in my psyche and body, and some things I had struggled with in my own character were gone. So I had a very spontaneous healing through this experience, an incredible level of energy. Now that has faded through the years, and some of the pain has returned, but it doesn't matter. It has completely transformed my being from the inside out. And so I can only say that whatever happened between us, it felt to me like I went somewhere else. When I was having these downloads, when I was writing day and night, I told someone once that I felt like I could take a step and I would just step through the veil. I felt so incredibly close to this extremely high energy dimension.
So in dying, she managed to give you a real gift, didn't she?
Yes, she did. And she describes in Book 1 that upon our death, we have an accumulation, if you want to call it, of vibrational sort of deposits that we've made. She compares it to a bank. It's our wellspring. And we're allowed to decide what to do with it. Now, my mother was an incredibly charitable, beautiful soul. She worked with in a runaway shelter. Her entire life was humanitarian outreach. She was anyone that ever knew her and knew her well can barely put into words the level of unconditional love, forgiveness, and so forth that she manifested. So she had a lot in her wellspring. And she said she was permitted to, you can carry it on with you. You can turn around and pour it back out. And that's what she did. She poured it back out. Not to me personally as much as in the form of these books, in the form of a final outreach to humanity. And because I had been, as a child, receptive at a very young age and doing automatic writing and just very aware of these things, and because I had writing skills, I think I was the vessel that she was able to use at the time. And it wasn't just her. Book one really, really sounds like my mother. People say that knew her and read the books. The subsequent books, you can sense a multitude of teammates dictating the material. Some of it's more scientific, some of it is more physical, more about nature. It's just a big variety of topics and styles of writing, really.
Perhaps this would be a good point to get into the whole concept of team that your mother was trying to communicate to you. And what's that about?
Well, as you said, you quoted book one. You are not alone. You're not even functioning as one person. Nobody is, for you are a member of a team. I've come to see that we are looking at our existence here upside down, which is normal because we came here to do that, to experience this other kind of perception. But the truth is, only a part of our nature really comes into the physical form. I mean, Lee Witting is a vast being, and part of you has come to experience the earth life. It's sort of like you put your toe in the water, or maybe your arm or your foot. We bring in a part of ourselves that we want to develop, that most needs the experiences that the earth has to offer, so we may develop that aspect of ourselves. But there are many other aspects to our nature. And that greater aspect of ourselves remains on the other side with our team. So we are constantly being infused with guidance and information and inspiration and support. And at the same time, we're feeding back to our team our impressions, our lessons, and things of this nature. Everything we learn, every little bit of growth that we managed to make while we're here is shared by the team. It's all reciprocal. We do not have to do everything by ourselves. We don't have to learn every lesson, life after life after life, alone. In fact, she says, yes, there is a form of reincarnation, but people are too focused on that. You have one life. You simply live it in many different forms and in different dimensions. But you think of yourself as one life and one being. And don't get so hung up on this life and this life. And any more than we do that today is Monday and tomorrow's Tuesday. It doesn't matter. It's a week. It's a life. Think of yourself as one life.
Now, who are our teammates? Are they angels? Are they family members? Are they human beings who've passed on? What is the team itself?
Well, this is part of the upside-down perspective. The only way that we have a relationship with anybody on the earth is because this greater aspect of ourselves has a relationship on the other side. You cannot have a relationship with a spouse. You will never meet that person or interact with that person unless the greater parts of you are already connected on the other side. It's not from the ground up. It's from the up down to the ground. And so a lot of our fears about losing loved ones when they pass is we are forgetting that the only reason we were connected on the earth is because we have this relationship at a higher level, and it filtered down to the earth. Even now, you and I speaking, this is a reflection of something that we are doing together on the other side. So in answer to your question about who are our teammates are beings similar to us who are working from the same vibrational sphere. And you can just think of it as a meeting hall, that there's a certain mission to accomplish, and that these teammates come together, and you are dearly loved by one another as if you would be if you were working with a team of close loved ones here on Earth on a wonderful project. So, yes, they may come in as family members. They may come in as instigators in your life to try to help you overcome something that you're trying to learn in this life. They may come in as parents. They may come in as what you might call an enemy. It was given an example to me that presidential candidates may run on opposite sides here on Earth to give people the experience of the contrasting views, but on the other side, they're working together as teammates. So you can't just go through your life, looking for I think this one's my teammate and this one's not my teammate. But I would say that they are people who you encounter, and they are beings, souls in bodies that you encounter, who are there to help us wake up and complete our mission.
There are, of course, many dysfunctional families. I mean, you had an incredibly special relationship with your mother, but some folks out there have nothing but antagonism and anger and frustration in their family relationships. So are you saying that the supporting team members do this to you in order to teach you something, or does that indicate that they aren't actually part of your team?
Well, I don't think I personally have a way to define for anybody else who are their teammates. But all through these books, it's pointed out that difficult situations with people who we feel have brought us pain is often someone in our midst that we wish to encounter so that we can practice what we need to learn in that situation. As hard to accept as that is, and believe me, it's hard for me to accept at times. I did have an incredible relationship with my mother, but I didn't with other people in my family, and I didn't with many other people I've encountered in life. There have been many painful experiences in my life. But as it's explained in Book 4, when we leave this earth, we do not retain any pain or anger or hurt. We are like miners sifting through the mud to find the gold, and we take the gold back with us to share with our team, to share the wealth of wisdom with our team. We do not retain anything that is connected to the physical, emotional, or mental bodies. They are tools temporarily while we're here.
Well, if that's the case, then how have we learned a permanent lesson if we don't recall the suffering that we went through or the suffering we inflicted on others? How is it integrated into our spiritual selves so that it makes a learning experience that we keep with us after we die?
Well, she did describe that we do review our life, that we do experience immediately after leaving the body, that we do experience what our life consisted of and how others felt as a result of our actions and thoughts, and how it fits in with the big picture of all our lives, our entire life, as it extends through time, linear time on Earth anyway.
Yes.
We see how it all fits together, but we don't linger in that. What we take is the gold. We take the gold out of the mud, and it may be a small amount, it may be a large amount, and we move on. But it isn't that we aren't aware at all, but we don't have to stay in that. Now, what the life review, as I understand it, is very different for different people. And I have no doubt that if we have inflicted horrific things to others, experiencing and understanding those horrific things in comparison with the incredible light and love and beauty that we are aware of around us and that we are destined to rise up and meet, would cause a phase of suffering, a phase of sadness as we looked at that. I mean, I've heard from the NDEs, I've heard people say they review their life and they're assisted by other beings not to be too hard on themselves. They're completely filled with forgiveness and things like that. But having gone through that experience, I just don't know, how that would be for each individual.
Let me try one more, let's call it an analogy to the team situation. St. Paul said we're already seated in the heavenlies. And that has always conjured up for me an image of our bodies on earth, our beings on earth being somewhat like avatars in a computer game. And when you talk about the team up there, it's almost like they are competing or they're aiding in a mutual game that they're playing, that we're a part of, and we're just the character that they're manipulating from on high. Does that sound at all like what you're talking about?
No, I can't agree with that because we aren't manipulated. We are all the boots on the ground and the ones in the lookout towers. No one is manipulating the other. However, some have a wider view from the lookout tower, and those boots on the ground can receive information and enlighten their path if they're willing. We're completely endowed with free will. I mean, we experience this every day, the choice to speak to one another today or to not. I mean, that's as simple as an example as you can get, but we are beings of free will. And to the degree that we work with our team, our beloved team, I call them our beloved team, they're beings of like mind. They're beings of like mission. And being open to them, I think the reason my mother's voice came through was because I was leery of all this kind of thing, but I was able to trust when I heard her. And then after that, I was able to trust the other teammates, that I could feel their presence and receive this information. But it's teamwork. It is not a manipulation or a direction, one more than the other.
So each individual on Earth has a team behind them. Is there overlapping of the teams, do you suppose? In other words, would my sister and I have the same team members or shared team members?
Yes, teams definitely overlap. In fact, it's described in the books as they overlap, forming larger leagues. And leagues over, I mean, the true essence of all of it, when you get down to it, is that we're all really one. And this concept of working in groups or teams is a beautiful one, but even so, it's still limiting. It's a limiting one. But we aren't, while we're in the physical body, quite ready to completely experience this concept of being all one. What is more useful for us is that we're working, and it is true, that is we're working in groups, and all our spiritual progress or evolution is collective. We think of ourselves as so individual, but it's so collective. What I learned today from you is relayed to my team through vibration, through thought, and they grow from it. So if we could, we would simply be in cosmic consciousness and know that we're all one. But since we're in the body, it is very helpful and useful to us to understand that we're working in teams and that it's a very brief period of time. And that when we leave this body, many of our teams will come in and pick up where we left off. And that is why it's so important to every day, in the smallest of ways, we think we have to do huge things, but we can do very small things to simply try to leave things better than we found them. If it's nothing more than picking up a piece of trash off the ground, whatever the choice of the moment presents itself, leave things slightly better than how you found them, because we are paving the way for the the next team member to come in and pick up where we left off.
My thanks to Frances Key for being on the show. It's interesting to note that after the first team book was published, Frances discovered a recording of her mother, Teddy's voice, that she'd never heard before. It was found at the end of a recording of her mother playing the piano, made while she was still alive. But these words appeared on the tape sometime after her mother's death. Teddy is heard saying, "I am speaking to you as a member of a team that believes the human race is preparing for a tremendous change that may come in a form too beautiful to describe or too frightening to consider." Frances has republished Book 1 to include this message. You can find it at Amazon, titled The Team, A Mother's Wisdom from the Other Side, Book 1 of the Team Books by Teddy and Frances Key. My thanks once again to Frances Rae Key for sharing her mother Teddy's remarkable detailed communications from the other side. Once again, you can check out her books on Amazon. And thanks to you for listening. If you'd like to hear this show again or any of our more than 500 archived, ad-free NDE interviews, go to TalkZone's NDE Radio site and hit the Past Shows button, or go to our YouTube channel, NDE Radio with Lee Witting, where you can subscribe to and comment on the complete NDE Radio library. And listen next Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern at TalkZone for more NDE Radio. I'm your host, Lee Witting, saying once again, thanks for listening.